Okay, Navami, you can go.
Oh, so no controversial statements, huh?
No
You're
controversial statements.
keeping track of what I'm going to say. It has to be all inspirational.
Most likely one. Please, Navami. Navami, are you speaking? Seems to be an issue.
No milk, just the. आजा मुझे तुम 3 बार पिलाई 3 बार पिलाई because I was coughing 3 बार. और
Hello.
Yes.
now maybe we can hear you.
Navami, is everything all right?
Looks like she's muted. No?
She seems to be unmuted. I'll just ring her up. Navami, can you hear us? Seems this happens. I apologize. I'll quickly resolve it in a couple of minutes, and everybody
Sure.
else in a minute.
Hello, ma'am. Is it audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so yes, I'm sorry, ma'am, for the delay.
No
I'll
problem.
introduce it again. Okay. Biology has been pivotal in shaping modern era. The surge in development in this area has been as enormous as it is baffling. And that happened thanks to the exciting intersection of biology, technology, and business bio entrepreneurship. We have all thought about this one time or the other. How can we bridge the gap between science and industry? How can I take my research paper outside of it? How can I, as a student, transform my scientific ideas into practical, marketable, to shed light on all of this and more, We are thrilled to have with us Dr. Deepthi Saini ma'am, co-founder of Protein Design Private Limited, an innovative biotech lab based in Bengaluru that champions research and collaborate. It is with great pleasure that I welcome Dr. Deepthi Saini ma'am to our session today. Welcome ma'am. Dr. Deepthi Saini is an accomplished scientist with remarkable career. She completed her PhD at AIMS in the field of biochemistry, followed by postdoctoral fellow at Washington University in St. Louis. She also worked as principal scientist at Genotypic Technology in Bangalore. In 2017, Dr. Deepthi Saini co-founded the Protein Design Private Limited alongside Professor Rajan Dike, where they are pioneering advancement in the field of protein design and biotechnology. We are privileged to have Dr. Deepthi Saini ma'am with us today, and we look forward to her valuable insight to dynamic field. Let us now hear from Dr. Deepthi Saini ma'am. Ma'am, over to you.
Okay. In fact, I was going to start with introducing our lab and things, and then get into the agenda for today. Does that work for everybody?
Totally, ma'am. Totally.
Yeah, and I'd like people to, raise their hand or
Yes,
put
ma'am.
a question or even unmute themselves and ask questions in between. The more interactive we are, the better it'll be for a good session. Yeah.
All right, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't really want to just do a PPT and then then wait for questions and things like that.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'll share screen and where did it go? Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
So the PPT starts this way, that Professor Dige was a professor at Indian Institute of Science, and as he was retiring, he wanted to carry on some of his research, convert it into commercialized products and things like that. So, with that in mind, we started this lab called Protein Design. ठीक है. So this the lab was started as an incubatee at FSID IISc, which is Society for Innovation and Development. Okay. And Professor Dige and me as partners started this. We have a whole lot of esteemed people in our board of directors also, and we thought we were going to make a whole lot of designer proteins. Yeah, that was the idea. Any ideas on which proteins are very useful for everybody? We can speak also. How do I see the chat box or get people's feedback?
I'm not sure, ma'am. Probably I can relate to you. My request to all participants, you can unmute and speak, but if that's an issue, you can put your responses on the chat box and I'll relate to Dr. Deepthi Saini. We are with you so far, ma'am. Proteins, I believe, something like vaccines.
Yes, vaccines, absolutely.
Any other
Isn't it?
responses?
Oh, I can't make this small. If I do, then
No, I think this is the only way out to, that I'll be
uh,
your relayer.
okay.
That's all the responses we've got now, ma'am, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then let me just keep my projection on. Okay, so here's the things. Proteins are very interesting molecules, okay? My favorite molecules. Because no matter how much DNA controls everything, and based on the control from DNA, stuff is coded for and transcribed, and the mRNA is sent out into the cytoplasm from the nucleus. it is actually the translated proteins which do all the work, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. And I'd actually like to interact and ask if people appreciate what all work do proteins do? What are the various functions or groups of proteins that are present in our bodies? Can I have a few typed answers or a few, spoken answers?
Ma'am,
Good
there are
evening,
types
ma'am.
of. Hello.
Yes.
Ma'am, there are types of proteins like primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary proteins.
Yes,
I have
those
heard
are
about.
those are structures of proteins. But the question I'm asking is, do you know what all functions do they do?
Proteins act as antibodies. They are
Absolutely.
also
Antibodies,
they also act as enzymes,
the major functions.
and they also have a structural role in
Yes, the
forming
building blocks
plasma
of our
membrane.
body. Yeah. Then
They
what else?
might also act as hormones.
Hormones. Yes, insulin, glucagon. Then myoglobin, hemoglobin, transport proteins, receptor proteins. See, a lot of stuff they do, right? So the simplest story where this starts is insulin. It's a hormone which, if it is less, ends up showing up as diabetes. Okay, so in the 70s, 80s, people knew that hormones work via the bloodstream, and if the hormone is low, then you will get a disease. The point is, if it works through the bloodstream and we inject into the bloodstream insulin, it should do the work same as the insulin coming from pancreas. And initially, they would get insulin from bovine or porcine pancreas. Okay, but what happened? Does it work? Yes, no?
It has to be aligned with the human mechanisms.
No, insulin coming from all sources, it kind of works. Okay, and it did work. However, what happens? Insulin has to be taken every day before every meal. Yes. So over time, what happened? People started getting allergies to the pig proteins and things that are coming along with the purified insulin. And also, there wasn't enough. So, what is the need of the hour?
Large scale production.
Large scale production and human insulin, isn't it?
Yes.
So, human insulin you can't get from human cadavers. No? You can't be going and getting pancreas from dead bodies and etc. I mean, or from that source. It will not be enough, first of all, and it's not ethical, morally correct. Then came the whole advent of recombinant DNA technology. People understand the central dogma of biology, molecular biology, that a DNA sequence will transcribe an mRNA, which will translate into a protein. So, if you actually know the gene sequence for a particular protein, you can just give me half a second.
Sure.
Yeah. You can actually. So we can make human insulin if we know the gene sequence for it. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
How does DNA recombinant technology help us with that? Does everybody know the process
DNA,
of gene cloning and expression?
yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can we have a little this thing input into how that works?
Gene, like the gene which encodes for insulin hormone, that is cleaved from the like human cell, and is like then it's like what do you say? Like recombination is done to insert that gene in the desired organism in which we are intending to produce the insulin from.
Yes, yes. You don't even have to do the whole recombination into the host. What you can do is you can put this gene into a vector, like a plasmid, okay, and put this vector carrying the gene of interest into the host cell, and the host cells will transcribe and translate the gene just as the uh, human cells will do. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So how many host cells can you think of that can help with this kind of work? What would be the ideal host cells?
Microbes.
Yes, ideal would be human cells or human pancreatic cells, but those are not easy to grow and will be very expensive. They grow very slowly. So we choose a host which replicates really fast, grows really fast. Bacteria, every 20 minutes, they will divide. Yes, so the more they divide, the more they will transcribe and translate the human protein. So we can do recombinant expression of a whole lot of proteins in bacteria, and these bacteria will do the expression of these proteins, from where you can purify them, the process of downstream processing, and then human insulin can be made. Okay. However, bacteria can't do transcription and translation exactly like eukaryotes do, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So, a lot of proteins where they need a typical kind of structure or they need post translational modifications which bacteria don't do, you will have to do in human cells or mammalian cells. So, you can have mammalian cells as host. You can make recombinant proteins in yeast cells also. So, the specialty of yeast cells is that they are eukaryotic but unicellular, and they grow kind of quickly like bacteria, a little slower than bacteria, but they do. So basically, if the gene for the protein that needs to be made is put into a recombinant host which doesn't usually produce it, they are capable of transcribing and translating it and making the protein. Okay, so this was the idea of making recombinant proteins like hormones, biosimilars, glycosylated proteins, antibodies, and so on and so forth. With this idea in mind, we started the protein design lab. This logo that you're seeing, PD, is actually the 3D structure of a antibody variable region. So, even amongst proteins, antibodies are kind of my favorite molecules. Our lab is at MSR Nagar Matikere, which is right like 2 minutes from the Indian Institute of Science. And all people who are here are most welcome to visit us whenever and as per their convenience. Okay, so the office is at Matikere. We have 3 labs. The molecular biology facility is where we do all the molecular biology work. DNA, RNA, proteins to me is molecular biology. Okay, so whether it is doing genomic DNA or visualizing it, doing a exosome electrophoresis, quantifying it, isolating plasmid DNA, then RNA, insert vector preparation, doing digestion, restrictions and digestion, cloning, competent cell preparation, transformation, screening clones, PCR, qPCR based assays, all the molecular biology stuff we do in our molecular biology lab.
Ma'am, I'd like to
So,
interrupt you for a
uh-huh.
second. I'm so sorry. I don't think your slides are moving, ma'am.
Yes.
There's an issue with the slides aren't moving, I suppose. Can you?
Oh, they're not moving?
Okay, now it is. Now it's fine.
Okay. Now we're on.
Yes, now we're on.
Okay, so here are some snapshots of our molecular biology lab. Some people who were there and some of the instruments that we have. Okay, here the picture that I've put over here of agarose gel, where the glowing bands are seen. The top one shows restriction enzyme digested plasmid. The middle one is how RNA looks on gel, and the bottom one is all how PCR products will look on agarose gel. Okay, and then the plates that you see are transformed or recombinant colonies that you get for plasmid bearing bacteria. The bottom panel shows you qRT-PCR outputs. Everybody has heard of RT-PCR testing for COVID, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So when they do those analyses, what kind of output comes from the machine on the basis of which you can tell whether the amplification for the viral genes are happening or not is the qPCR or RT-PCR results. Okay, then we have a mammalian cell culture facility where we culture these mammalian cells. Did the slides move now?
No, ma'am, it isn't moving.
Oops, then maybe I should not keep it as slide this thing share. I'll keep it as this. Does it show up now? The cell culture slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then I have to go out of slide share every time and then move the slide. Okay. So here's how mammalian cells grow. In the LAF, there we aseptically grow them without getting them contaminated. They grow in a CO2 incubator. We have a microscope and fluorescent microscopes to look at cells and centrifuges and other cell counter and things like that we work with in the cell culture facility. And we do maintenance of cancer cell lines, normal cell lines. We do treatments for them. We do cell viability assays, transfect them with recombinant DNA. We stain animal cells for microscopy, for flow cytometric assays, okay, for reporter assays, cell binding assays, and expression of recombinant proteins to purify from there. The proteins which bacteria can't do but have to be done in mammalian cells. Yes. Okay, I'm going to the next slide. This one is our yeast culture facility. Okay, so here is the hood in which we grow yeast. The yeast plate looks a little different from bacterial cells. On the previous slides here, I had shown you bacterial colonies. Okay, they are tiny. Do you see the MolBio slide on the screen?
We're seeing the
Ma'am,
yeast
it is.
facility.
Okay, you see the yeast ones. Wait. Okay, now the MolBio lab.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so these small colonies, which are more transparent, are the bacterial colonies. Okay, now compared to that, when we look at, do you see the yeast now? Yes? Do you
Yes,
see the
yes,
yeast colonies?
we do.
Huh. So these are slightly bigger and whiter. Yes? And yeast grow in a slightly cool this thing environment. Also, they need sugars to grow, whereas your bacterial cultures are more salty. Okay, and yeast grows slightly slower than bacteria, but we can use pichia, saccharomyces, and certain yeasts as recombinant hosts for making recombinant proteins. Okay, so basically protein design wanted to make all these fancy recombinant designer proteins for human use, for agricultural use, basically a lot of applications, industrial applications. Enzymes are very useful in industrial applications and so on and so forth. Okay, so once you have made all these proteins in the hosts, you have to do downstream processing, which means you need to purify them from the host proteins. For that, we have an ACTA system, which is an automated chromatography system where we can do purification of various proteins with here is GFP tag protein, and here's how we analyze proteins, how they look on the SDS page. Gel Western blotting we run for confirming whether it is the correct protein or not. ELISA we will run to see quantity of protein that we get. So all the protein work kind of gets done in the downstream processing part, the analysis of how much and how good the proteins that we are making look like. Okay, now yeah, this is the how do you say, the gist of what we do at lab. Let me jump that and basically finalize with this, saying that we can express therapeutic proteins in recombinant systems, glycoproteins, and things. We can use bacteria, yeast, or mammalian or insect cells to grow these proteins. Yes? Are we good till here?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm? Okay, cool. So moving on to careers in life sciences. Okay, so now all those students who are doing a bachelor's in biology, any biological sciences, biotechnology, and so on and so forth, they know there are labs which are wet lab based, right? And there are dry lab based projects where you do bioinformatic analysis on in silico. Okay, now if you really want to do internships, they are available in various companies. Some companies offer group internships, some where you have to pay some and do internships, and so on and so forth. There is a biotechnology council's BCIL exam, post undergrad, where they give you a stipend to do a 6 month internship in a company. Also, Karnataka has biotechnology skill enhancement program, again bridging the gap between a degree course and a job in a company, yeah, in a corporate environment. So these trainings enhance your lab skills, enhance your exposure to how industry works. Okay, but the point is, job is a job. A lot of questions that students come up with is, should I get a job after UG? Should I do masters and then get a job, or should I do a PhD and then start working, or should I just get into a QC kind of job, or should I do R&D? You see a lot of questions that come up when it comes to careers in life sciences. But what I can say is, if you're interested in the subject, if you're enthusiastic, if you're curious, then you keep on looking at research in a way where it keeps you interested, and you enjoy your job, whether it is in diagnostics, in therapeutics, or in pharma, in agricultural genomics, or wherever, whichever kind of company interests you. Enzyme based companies are there. There are so many jobs available. Okay, but today's agenda is bioentrepreneurship. Sounds like a big program, huh? Entrepreneurship means
Sorry,
what?
the slide hasn't
Can I
changed.
have?
Also,
Yeah,
slideshare doesn't
today.
work, ma'am. So I think might as well just keep it like this.
Oh, I'll keep it like this only.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Okay, so what is entrepreneurship? Do you know what is entrepreneurship? What does entrepreneur mean? Any ideas on what is entrepreneurship?
Starting, creating a startup.
Yes, creating a company or a startup where you'll make money. Okay, let me start with you all can see my video, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Now here's the thing. Did you see the poster for today's talk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And did you see my first slide where I had put my picture? This one is when we started the lab. Okay. And similar picture on the poster for today's talk. And then you see me here, right? In the 5 6 years that I have been a bio entrepreneur. What I have gained is this wisdom, which I'm transferring to you today. Do you see the um,
Yeah.
do you see how tickled I am with the transformation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when you tell somebody I have a biotech lab, they think, wow, money minting machine. Okay, the people are making what aeroplanes of 2000 rupee notes, and flying them and having a great and cushy life. The life of an entrepreneur, whether it is bio entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, in the other fields, is not easy, especially the first 5 years. Okay, and it is even more difficult for bio entrepreneurs. So you may see entrepreneurship as a very fancy kind of field, but it takes a lot to become a successful entrepreneur. Okay, there are a lot of people who want to try, and now with so many the startup culture promoting the starting up of a company, it is one very good career option. However, today I'll just go over a little bit of pros and cons of how it works or how to become a successful entrepreneur. ठीक है? I am still getting there, but any like I said, wisdom that I have picked up over the years is coming to you. Okay, so individuals who find scientific niche for new opportunities and create new business and relationships for them are entrepreneurs. Yes, entrepreneur, they are good for economic development, their own and the countries. They are visionaries. Okay, and they bring about changes through innovation for social good. Social good, yeah, your own good is more important, isn't it? Everybody's heard of Bill Gates and the other big entrepreneurs, Elon Musk and people like that, who have vision, who have created their niches and everything. Yes. So, bioentrepreneurship is the activities that create, develop, and commercialize a biotechnology product. Now, our company wanted to do protein products or um, um, recombinant proteins for various purposes. However, there are a number of different biotechnology products that are uh, possible. So the point is that entrepreneurship and bioentrepreneurship may seem like the same thing. Start with a great idea, funds you should put, you should build a team, and then you will get money. You will do good to society, blah blah blah, whatever. However, for a bioentrepreneur, there are bigger challenges. First of all, biotechnology products are not like one code and your app is ready, or things like that. They take long developmental period. Their vaccine, 1.5 years to develop the COVID vaccine was super fast. Usually, the whole process of making a vaccine takes anywhere from 5 to 7 years. Okay, hence all that controversy about how good the vaccine was, does it have long term effects, side effects, blah blah blah. We still don't know, because we wanted the vaccine as soon as possible. The trials were as minimal as possible, dosages varied, different kind of vaccines were there, whatever. Let's not get into that, but it takes long time to develop the products. You need enormous fundings. There are very strict regulatory and this thing rules and regulations, and there is scientific uncertainty. So many drugs that have been banned even after coming into the market for a long long time. Do you know any examples of that? Very drastic ones which were taken off the market. Anyone?
Ma'am, could you repeat your
Say again.
Ma'am, could you repeat your question? Like, what were you asking? I didn't catch that.
Do you have an idea of any drug that came into the market and then was taken off the market?
I remember. case like thalidomide, I believe.
Absolutely, thalidomide. They took 5-7 years to develop it, and it was supposed to help women with morning sickness. And then it started. They realized that it was causing all this teratogenicity, which means malformed fetuses, and then it had to be taken off the market. So even after your long development periods, even after passing all the regulatory stuff, there is scientific uncertainty whether eventually your product will be profitable or not, or will be useful or not. Okay, so being a bioentrepreneur is not simple. However, there are so many companies of uh, which are good examples of bioentrepreneurship. Cambridge Genomics, Materializex, Antiverse, Amgen, Genentech, Gilead, Novozyme, very Lonza, Abbott, all started up as startups, bioentrepreneurship programs, and now they are, a lot of them are multinational companies. Yes, even in India, there are a whole lot of companies which have come up really, really well and are doing a whole lot of work in various fields of biotechnology, not just healthcare. Yeah. So, what then is bioentrepreneurship? Is if you are a life scientist who is looking to start a business, startup, do you have an idea for what your business is going to do? If you know of a molecule, or if you know of a product that is novel or is going to have big impact on humanity, so why, and is there a market for it? If these questions fill up your time, or if you have an idea for these and you're interested, you're a people's person, maybe you can form collaborations where you can bring in funding. Entrepreneurship is a fantastic idea, but you can't be just a lab person and have an idea if you don't even know if the market needs the product or not, and you think you can start a company. Nope. Then even if you have a product, if you don't market it well, then it will just be sitting in your lab, it will not go to the market. So there are a whole lot of steps involved in bioentrepreneurship success, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in the next few slides. Any questions so far? Girls and guys, any questions so far?
No, ma'am, we're good.
All good? Okay. So if you Google 10 most must have traits for a successful entrepreneur, what is entrepreneurial spirit, what it does it require to be a successful entrepreneur, all the outputs that will come will tell you you should have passion for what you are doing, you should have strong work ethic, you should have people skill, you should have determination, you should have creativity, and competitiveness. You should be a self-starter, self-motivated person, you should be open-minded, you should have confidence, you should be disciplined, blah blah blah. I can spend the rest 20 minutes talking about these traits, but this everybody knows, isn't it? But apart from having all this which will make you successful, even as a person, you to be successful you need all these traits. To be a successful entrepreneur, what you need to do is keep going, which means even if you get small setbacks, don't give up. If you stick at it, we started the lab in 2018 end. 2019 was decent and it looked very promising. But then what happened? 2020 March, COVID happened. Yes, and it was a big blow, because if you have set up a company, you're paying rent for the space, electricity bill, you're paying your employees and all, and if for 4 or 5 months there's no income, see how hard it gets to keep going. And lot of companies, believe me, who started in 2019 shut down. Okay, the point is, even if you get setbacks, you fall down, you have to get up and keep going. Only then you will get successful in anything that you endeavor. It's not just entrepreneurship. Okay, basically there is plenty opportunity and challenges in biotechnology. Funding is available for biotechnology growth from for startups worldwide is plenty. I don't even need to go into these billions of dollars or crores of rupees kind of numbers. Okay, so the first thing that you need to become a bio entrepreneur is a business plan. Okay, you should have a viable product. Your intellectual property must be defensible. You should hold the patent or this thing for commercialization, and you should have a business model. How you are going to sell your product, how is it going to make a profit, who's going to help you with that. Okay, and management should have skills to implement this business plan. Just having a plan is not going to do it, one has to implement it also. But the first thing is to have a business plan. First thing is product idea, then business plan. Then the point is, we set up our lab with our own investments, which means you start small, but you have a group of people who are ready to invest. You can get a lot. I'll talk about funding in the next couple slides. However, setting up a biotechnology lab is not going to be a capital intensive process.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am, I think I've lost you. Garima, can you hear, ma'am? Nobody. Okay. All right. I'll just. Okay. Thanks for responding. I'll give me 5 minutes. I'll do here as well.
IIT Delhi. Some of these are where
Um,
examples of
Hello, ma'am.
bioincubate. Yes,
We all lost you right at the last slide when we were beginning to talk about Bionest.
beginning to talk about what?
Talk about Bionest. We're talking about funding.
The voice is
Hello, ma'am.
hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Awesome. Then I'll go back to screen sharing again. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am, you can continue.
Okay. So, do you see the Bionest slide?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yeah. So, Department of Biotechnology (DBT) has a industry council called BIRAC. Okay, and they have, through the Startup India Action Plan, set up a lot of BioNest programs, bio incubators, 20 to 30 in all over India. So what happens is they have lab spaces for rent, and also they have central instrumentation facilities which these startups can use for carrying out their research. Some of them, IIT Kanpur, CFTRI at Mysore, CCAM, BBIC, IKPADN in Bangalore, KIITS, this is Kalinga Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar, IIT Delhi, CCMB Hyderabad. There are so many bio incubators now where even young scientists who can't afford a lab can rent a space and carry out their research so that they can do their proof of concept studies and come up with the bioproduct. Isn't it wonderful?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, BIRAC has a lot of funding options. How to finance a startup later. BIRAC funding schemes. So you can incubate at a Bionest incubator. Okay. The Biotechnology Ignition Grant, BIG, Sitare, e-Yuva, these are early ideation to early stage kind of funds available for startups. Ideation to late stage, BIPP, SBIRI grant, for Transplant Space grant, SIP, Sparsh grants are available. These are all grants available from BIRAC for startups. Some of them you can apply as a registered startup. Some of them even individuals, like big, even an individual can apply for. Even if a student is interested, they can apply for it if they have an idea. Okay. Equity based funding means whatever you make, there'll be a stake for the funding agency. So seed, leap, ace, these are big money for investment. However, the funders will require a stake in the company. Okay, then there are some PCP programs where product commercialization funds are available. So these are some of the funds that BIRAC has made available for startups. Okay, so when we look at now the slide for funding a biotechnology startup, the first thing is grants. It's easy because you can apply for an idea and you will get starting for a little bit of money for doing a proof of concept or starting up. However, the grant monies are not huge, which means you can't really set up a whole lab using grant money. For consumables, for running a few proof of concept experiments and all, grants are fine. Private investors means if you have group of friends who are ready to put 50 lakhs each, or 1 crore each, maybe you can fund your own lab. Angel investors also, or there are how do you say, these NGOs, no, not really, helping startups. And they but again, angel investors are individuals with capital who want to invest privately in businesses, and it will not be huge investments. Everything comes with a caveat. So you can go to venture investors who will take a stake in your company and will provide you money, but you are answerable to them. They will identify potential milestones, and of course you have to achieve them because they have invested the money. You can take up bank loans again, but then, and there are some MSME, which is medium sized industry, and SME, small sized industries. Bank loans are available for low interests. However, again, loan is loan. And eventually, if you've set up a company and you want to go public, that also kind of works, but that is like eventually. So you see, there are plenty ways to raise money for a biotech startup, and putting in investment from your own side, having done it myself, I would say is not a very intelligent way of starting a lab. Okay, if you can get grants, if you get private funding, it makes sense. But before that, look at bioincubators where you can do. Now, why I'm telling you all this as students is because you don't have to wait till your retirement, you don't have to wait till you have become a great scientist to become a bioentrepreneur or a startup. In the field of IT, we see people 15-year-olds becoming multimillionaires by becoming entrepreneurs, isn't it? It's a little harder in biotechnology, but definitely if you have an idea, if you have the flair for marketing your idea, and you can get raise up enough finance to get a team which can execute your idea and make a successful product, you are on your way to becoming a entrepreneur. Okay, so if you look at entrepreneurship in current economic climate, if you yourself don't have to be an MBA to do your stuff, there is no formal path to becoming an entrepreneur. Okay, you just need to show up on the job, be hungry, be motivated. Communication is important. Make a team which is going to see your vision. COVID-19 made a lot of changes in every field. Okay, so no rules that applied 10 years ago apply now. In the last 5-10 years itself, I have seen hundreds of startups come up. But starting up is easy. To sustain a startup is what you should look at. You should have a vision for the future. The medical sector will never go out of fashion. The requirements from biotechnology, whether it is cleaner fuels, environmental needs, vaccines, healthcare, these applications of biotechnology are not going to go away. So if you can come up with an idea which can, serve mankind and become a product, go ahead. Medical devices, AI ML companies, diagnostic companies, they will do well definitely, because that's the need of the hour. Okay, so don't you don't have to, like I said, be dependent or wait for anything. If you have an idea, if you want to make a success of it, you can become a entrepreneur at any age. Keep doing your degree, start your startup. As long as you can execute your vision, it will work. You don't really need a lawyer right at the beginning, and it may seem as a big investment, but it always helps to get advice on intellectual property, stocks, concerning your employee agreements, advisors, board of directors, everything. Having a lawyer on board helps, and a chartered accountant for your financial auditing, registrations, and paperwork involved. Many approvals and so many these things you have to do, registrations to become a biotechnology company. Pollution control board, your recombinant DNA, this thing company, so many approvals and registrations you have to do. Import export, if you want to buy reagents, you want to buy instruments and stuff like that. And to keep track of your financial auditing input output in the company, you need a chartered accountant. Okay, so these are people who can help. Having a person who can be technical. See, I was always a lab scientist, so in order to become a businesswoman, it's not a one day transformation. For somebody who didn't even know the difference between a pro forma invoice and a tax invoice, becoming a bio entrepreneur was no cakewalk. I learned a lot on the job, and over the last 5-6 years, things have come to a point where people see me as a whatever successful bio entrepreneur who can give all this gyan. But you can get trainings. It doesn't have to be a degree in business administration or something. You can attend conferences for entrepreneurs. You can look at online sources. You can look at magazines. You can look at journals which are there. There are some handbooks for entrepreneurship. Recommended books are there. You can look at all of them, and then see what you can come up with and what you can do. Okay, so if you somebody wants to follow all the steps, you should see the big picture. What is it that you want to do? That, that question, what are you doing, what how do you visualize yourself 5 years down the line, or where do you see yourself 10 years down the line? Those are the big pictures. Every step will take you towards that goal. You have to evaluate that idea. It should have merit, and then you should have people who are going to help you execute that plan. Patents count, intellectual property, legal issues are can be handled. You need accounts and finance help. Real estate, where are you going to set up your lab? Incubation initially helps, but eventually you're going to have to set up your own system. In risk insurance management, BBIC had a big fire come up just last week. A couple of labs were totally devastated. Okay, if they have insurance, I don't know, I mean, if their instruments were insured, if their products were insured, or if if they'll be able to bounce back, or restart. These are things you have to look under risk management. And how are you going to spread the idea, the this thing information about your company? Nowadays social media plays a big role. Having a page, Twitter, your Facebook page, having a Insta page, it helps to spread the word. Okay, how are you going to develop your business? If you this is now a little relating to pharmaceutical or diagnostic business, then you have to follow all the pricing principles, and you have to get involved with clinical development or approvals. How are you who all are the stakeholders in the company? Of course, government grants are one way, but there are other sources and loans, etc., which I just outlined. And in bioentrepreneurship, network is your net worth. The more you can get a team that works, the more information you can spread out there on the work that you're doing, will help you grow. Does that kind of make sense?
Abs-
Yeah. I think I have come to the last slide of my talk. And I'd really love to hear your feedback on, does this spark you enough to think about bioentrepreneurship, or do you see bioentrepreneurship as a career option, or as something that you would strive to be or push to be? Or would you want to stick to a job and do? Because people, UG degree is more like a exploratory degree. Okay, you're seeing if you're interested in the subject and all. By the time you come to a master's course, you are committing to a field. Okay, and if you are committing to a field, you might as well it best there, isn't it? So you have to right now start looking at what are the options that you would have once you get your degrees. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So bioentrepreneurship, um, again, I put forward to you the pros and the cons. It's a lot of hard work. It's not something you can do at your just free time, or put 20% effort and get away with. It needs 150% time and effort commitment. You have to have the ideas. You should not be giving up when things don't work out well. You should have alternate plans. You should be resourceful enough to know that if you can't sort out a problem, who you should go to, who can help you sort out that problem, and not give up. Okay, the bottom line is keep going. Success will come if you put in enough effort on something. You will get successful. And it's not like jobs don't require efforts or things like that. So if you really are a biologist, a life scientist, who wants to start a business or has an idea which is going to make a product for the benefit of humankind, and it is a marketable product, you would know how to even get to the final user. There you're already on your path to be a bio entrepreneur. And I really hope that the group of students that I'm talking to today do see entrepreneurship or starting a business as a career option. startups as a career option. Okay, with this, I'll stop blah blahing, and I'm open to any questions that that come up.